welcome to the AI Bots podcast. I'm Chazzy.
I'm Dan Clark.
And I'm Ali Mitchell.
And welcome to the show. So, we're going to kick things straight off with the news, and this is a story that's totally rocked my world. It's a real kick up the arse, and it's a real corker. And weirdly, it relates to something we're going to talk about later. But anyway, the Game Dev Tycoon, which is one of those tycoon games. I guess you've all played those, right?
Yes. Like sort of game dev story and that kind of thing, yeah?
Yeah. In fact, I'd be a bit sneaky about this one. If I were the people that make Game Dev Story, I'd say, hang on, you've basically done this with our game. People that are pirating Game Dev Tycoon are finding that they can't do very well in the game. Now, the game is about making games. How many times can I use the word
game
in a sentence? Yeah. But it's difficult. It's really difficult with this story. So yeah, you have to make games in the game and then release them to the virtual public. But what happens is that people start pirating your games within the game, and then eventually they start getting them instantly, as if there's been like an online leak. You know, that's happened with some big games over the past few years.
Yeah.
That starts happening, and you start making pretty much no money from, like, no in-game money from your releases. So, yeah, it's like a fascinating little
really
way
like
to get around it.
really creative way to like sort of put two fingers up to the pirates, you know.
Mm-hmm. It's not the first time a company have done something like this, though, is it?
No. I mean, do you remember that one? What was it? Batman. Do you remember in the Arkham Asylum when they had when they basically like put out a pirated version on the torrents, and then they had they just cut out all functionality of the cape. So, like, you jump off something, and then he'd just start flapping his cape, and nothing had happened, and he'd just slowly just drift down towards the floor really quickly. And then they funneled you into an area where there was just poison gas, and the only way you could get across it was to float across with the cape. But if the cape obviously didn't work because you had the pirated version, that was it. You just kept falling over and over and over again into the gas. And it was just like, people started like going on forums going, oh, this game's got a terrible bug, blah, blah, blah. And the devs had to just come online and go, no, you have a pirate. Yeah, exactly. You have a pirated version, and only the pirated version does that. And I just thought, that's brilliant.
I remember, the Metacritic reviews were the same, where they were like, oh, it's a really serious problem here. And like, no, you just look like a dick.
Yeah, exactly. Now you've outed yourself and everyone knows.
I think it's best when people do go on the forums to complain about the bugs, and then, they get told straight away, that's you, you're a pirate. It's brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing.
You'd think after, maybe this many years of similar things happening, people would have learned, maybe I'll just sit on this complaint for a few days and see what transpires. There's one in the Michael Jackson Experience. Do you remember the game? It was just after he died. It was a bit of a cash cow milking type thing. But yeah, the DS version, Michael Jackson The Experience, if you played that and it was a pirated copy, it overlaid the music, which in a rhythm action game is quite important. It overlaid it with vuvuzelas, the most annoying noise of the past 10 years.
Permanently running. Yeah, that's amazing.
But I mean, even going years back, do you remember, Zack McCracken by LucasArts, if you played a pirated copy of that, then the game itself threw you in jail at one point.
Oh, really?
And just gave you a lecture about copyright.
Yeah, so a massive little speech about, why you shouldn't copyright games.
That's brilliant. Oh, I love it.
So it's not new, but it's a really good thing. Really love it when the devs, do these little things to get the pirates. It's fun.
And the thing is, if it was a fun way like that, or a creative way, they've at least thought it through, I think you're going to feel less annoyed. Do you know what I mean? You feel like you've been sort of they've tricked you as much as you've tried to trick them. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
you've got
me, guys.
Yeah, exactly. And you feel stupid, and you probably won't do it again. Or like you say, you'll wait before announcing it to the whole world on a forum somewhere.
I think we need to bring back code wheels.
Yeah, mate.
I think that's what we need.
Or those little bits of sort of red plastic that you'd run over something so that it'll all of a sudden magically bring the code out.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Those things are
we
great.
need that kind of stuff back. That would be brilliant, especially as it's almost a bit like Metal Gear Solid did with the back of the CD case.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, if you can build it into the game itself, that's a really clever little manoeuvre, isn't it?
Yeah. Or looking for, what was it? The one that I used to always like was the go to page 43, paragraph 2, third word.
Yeah.
And then and all that kind of stuff, and then it gave you a reason to actually go through the manual.
Yeah, but then what happened when you dropped a bit of pizza on it and it got stained, Because that sort of thing genuinely happened back in the day, didn't it, with Amstrad games and whatnot?
Yeah.
The most common complaint of the 8-bit times was pizza on your manual.
Yeah, your manual's just stained, and it's like, fuck, is that? I'm sorry.
Pizza Melon.
I'm sorry for swearing.
Sorry, I'm trying to make like a pizza Molyneux. No, Manualu. No, that's a terrible joke. I won't go there.
Wow, that could almost fit in something we've got coming up later.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a surprise for all you listeners. Another interesting way they did it was, do you remember Jet Set Willy and Manic Miner, where it was like these weird colour codes. You had like 4 different, it was like the cyan, magenta, and green, and I think blue from the spectrum, or maybe red. Yeah. And you had to put them in a certain order. But I remember someone at school made me a copy of that where their dad had photocopied the label, but then they'd put an NB, like this shade of grey means this colour, this shade of grey means this colour, and this one. Right. So you could kind of work it out, but it was like, God, how much effort is that going to pirate a £5 game?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So yeah, like, developers out there, if you're listening, because we know a lot of them obviously listen, like that's pretty much our entire listenership, really.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So yeah, think of really creative ways to fool other people, and like we'll do this as a news story forever and ever because it's well funny.
Exactly, it's wicked.
Oh my God, there's one I forgot. There's a game called Cross Days. Sorry, I'm going off on one of my random ones.
No, it's brilliant. Go on.
Carry on, mate. So I thought you just exploded. Sorry.
I sort of did, but with excitement that I'd forgotten how good this troll was. Right. So, you know, you get the Japanese visual novels. Like they're similar to sort of. Are they like dating games, I suppose, or like an RPG without the actual gameplay, just the talking bits? Okay. But there was an erotic visual novel. It came out in 2010, and if you pirated that, it made you go through this survey at the start where you had to type in your name, address, and all the usual details when you register a product. It was doing it like that. Now, obviously, most people are going to put in their fake details if they're pirating the game. So what the game did was took a screenshot of when you submitted your survey form, and then it uploaded to this site what was on your screen at the time. So some people had porn on their screen. One guy even had plant porn. He was reading a story about plant porn. Yes, you heard that right. Plant porn. I didn't even know something existed like that. But yeah, and then to have your details removed, you had to publicly admit that you'd stolen a Japanese porn game.
Wow, literally holding people to ransom.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Like sort of blackmail, yeah. That's insane. That's a bit much.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a step too far, but that is the sort of ultimate extension of all of this, isn't it? Like,
so that's what's going to happen with Kinects on like the next generation of consoles. That's that's the new DRM. That's why it's got to always be online. Yeah,
you could be right there. That does seem to make sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then you just have all these like mad pictures of just like naked blokes sat on their sofa. And you've got to try and go through and get them. Oh my god, I'm on the Microsoft Pirate site. Quick, I've got to get it down. I've got to get it taken down.
Although it does mean the people that are in charge of like policing this, you know, every country's got its little authority that deals with like piracy, like the Federation Against Copyright Theft. Yeah. It means that their job would be very interesting if it involved naked blokes on sofas. It would like change their job entirely. Suddenly everyone would get away with it because they're like, I don't want to look at it actually. Like,
yeah, exactly. No.
They're all alright. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at the moment with the Miiverse, isn't that what some guys currently have the job doing? But this time it's just cartoons of like naked men.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of the actual photos, you know.
Yeah, just going through like looking for really bad MS Paint like drawings of like willies.
Not Majin willies, no.
No. Well, it could be. You know, Jace
I bet there's a couple of pictures that look like him on there in the Shrek forums and that.
Oh, that's harsh, man.
Oh man. Oh. Yeah, maybe it's a bit cruel. Sorry.
Right.
So, on to another quirky story of how games can sort of invade on your life outside of gaming. EvE Online, the massive online PC space game, is getting a TV series.
Yeah, that's mad. That really is mad. That's like one of the strangest kind of crossovers of media that I can think of in a long time.
Yeah, but if anything has a community that are hardcore enough to be into a TV series, then it has to be EVE Online, surely.
And if people are into TV shows, it's things like Battlestar Galactica and these big space operas that they're
like
into.
You see, like you've got this Defiance out at the moment, there's a crossover that's quite mad, and then you've got kind of like the success of Firefly and stuff like that, and it's just like, it's almost like sci-fi channel-y type stuff, just cashing in on, you know, like sort of game worlds. That's what it feels
It'd be
like to
interesting to
me.
see if the stories of the game are related, like, to what happens from the players. It seems like they're going to do that, but I don't know if that's just a PR.
That's what they're saying they're going to do, is that they're going to take sort of the political intrigue stories and stuff of stuff that's actually happened in real life, or virtual real life, and then basically write those in as storylines in the actual TV show.
I was just wondering if it's going to be PR bump where it'll be like these storylines, and then the voice actor will cut in from saying like, and then it will say Kevin.
No, I don't think it's going to be like. I don't think it's going to be like Blunt Smoker 433 did this. I don't think it's going to be anything like that. I think it's going to be more kind of like, they'll have a stock set of characters like a Battlestar Galactica, but
there was that big storyline a few years ago when the EvE economy crashed due to some people having a war with someone else, and there were treachery and crossovers and stuff. I'm sure that'll be in there somewhere.
That's the thing about this game. Everything I hear about it sounds incredibly dull, right? And the actual playing of the game, but everything outside of that, like all the political stuff and all the kind
periphery of it is amazing.
It's amazing. It really is amazing. And it's like one of those things. I really want to play it, but I just know I will be bored to tears with it.
It's one of those games that I keep hoping it's going to go free to play at some point, like all the other PC MMOs do. But I think it's got such a community that there's no need for them to do that.
Exactly.
So.
But that's kind of like why I got into like the beta and stuff for Dust 514.
Yeah.
Because I want to be part of that EvE universe just for that kind of mad intrigue and espionage, and what was the one they had where they were like basically just throwing drone ships into an area to kind of destroy the economy and stuff, and all that kind of stuff. It's brilliant. I just want to be part of it, but like 514 felt like a good way to get into that for me, coming from a kind of console background.
Yeah, and preferring sort of action games, I suppose.
Exactly.
Flying around for hours, Elite clone type stuff.
Yeah, totally.
It's another form of video game piracy that we haven't thought of. It's like pirates have ruined that EvE economy a number of times. You know what I mean? Like, that war was about people like pirating goods off each other and stuff. And it's like, it could be the most fascinating TV series.
Yeah, no, totally.
If you're into that kind of thing, like, it's almost getting me interested in playing it. Tell you what. I know it's paid for, but we should do a month of it later in the year. Once the TV series is online, or whenever it actually comes out, we'll do a month of playing it and see how it relates to the show. Yeah,
we'll make our own little corporation or something. So try if anyone's interested in getting involved, and we'll do it as a community thing.
Well, the thing about EvE, I mean, you say you're going to try it for a month, but it actually allows you to pay for your subscription with in-game currency, provided you can get enough of it. I mean, I believe that's quite unique with MMOs, so... Yeah. I mean, if you play it enough for a month and do well enough, then it could just fund itself, really.
The problem is, it's one of those games that would be the only game you play, isn't it? A bit like World of Warcraft and stuff, where... And I suppose FIFA and COD to an extent, where it's one of those games that, if you're into it, that is what you play.
Yeah. That is your sole game for the year, sort of thing, or forever. Yeah.
Talking of Dust 514, though, it's finally got a release date. I don't know if you heard, but 14th of May.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, I got excited for Chazzy when I saw this, because I remember you were really excited.
Yes.
Then the beta happened, and you kind of dipped off a bit, but it brought you back with an update. Is that right?
So yeah, there's been this like CCP event out in Iceland, and it's not the shop.
Oh, that'd be great.
Didn't see Kerry Katona there, no?
No, exactly. She didn't have a ring of prawns with her or anything like that. But so that this news has come out of there basically, and it just it looks fantastic. I sort of got into it, sort of paid my way into the beta, and then I've been kind of dipping in and out of it, just seeing what's been happening with the updates and stuff. And I'm really excited to sort of now see what it's like when everyone gets involved and see how if it explodes or doesn't explode. It's been nice to be like sort of in on a sort of a more of a ground floor level with a game and see it like as it develops through the different variations and iterations and stuff.
Well, with it being free to play, there's really no reason why people shouldn't give it a go. So I can imagine that when it first comes out, it is going to be incredibly popular, and there's no reason why we shouldn't hook up and have a game. But
yeah, definitely.
Whether it'll make people stick with it over time, who knows?
Yeah, because from what I'm seeing from it at the moment, it seems very... I think I've spoken about it before, but it does seem quite complicated on like its kind of economy and stuff you have to pay for and what you get for your purchases and how... Because it seems a lot... There was at the time when I was playing it was a lot of timed stuff like, you'd have a gun, but you'd have it only for a certain amount of, time and stuff. So yeah, be interested to. I'm gonna have to get back into that and really sort of gen up on it before it comes out for real.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the sound of that sort of thing, but I suppose if it's free to play, they've got to make their money somehow.
Exactly.
In fact, I might even want to join in with you guys with this, because I've just got sorry to hijack the news with a thank you, but I might finally be able to get a PS3.
Oh, fantastic.
And play this. So yeah, a massive thank you to Ashgiver1, who gave us a really nice review on iTunes.
Yes.
He's got a broken PS3. Now that, as I say, this is going to go on, and it's it's broken and it hasn't got anything with it, and yeah, it's legs are hanging off, and it's got fleas, but
I've run it over a few times. You don't ask why, but
massive thank you to the guy who's going to be giving a broken PS3 that it's only needs the yellow light of death fix. So yeah, massive thanks to him, and hopefully we can play this and make it a little part of the show. And he's free to jump in and stuff too. Tell you what, we'll make our own EVE Online TV show. We'll make the Dust 514 spin-off. That's what we'll do.
Yeah, exactly. We'll stream it. Yeah,
exactly. Oh, because we've been practicing that tonight.
Yes,
for anyone that wants to check that, before we go to the break, you can while we're on the break, perfect. Go onto YouTube and find our channel. It'll be in the show notes. And you can have a look at us and our faces and trying to do our first little mini, how are we going to do this podcast if it ever went video? So, exactly. Have a look at that. And I think that's pretty much all the news, isn't it?
Yes, mate.
Oh, no.
No, we haven't done And Finally, mate. Come on.
We haven't done And Finally, you're right. That's because every story this week had a bit of an And Finally feel to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
A bit lost. They're all kind of fun things. Woohoo! Don't you love it when the world of video games is fun rather than just these nasty stories of companies closing down and stuff. So anyway, there was a broadcaster on Twitch TV. You know, the game streaming service, I'm sure everyone knows of it, even if they've not used it. Where basically you watch people playing games and you can give them money if you want. Do you know what I mean? How weird does that sound when you couch it in those terms? But there was a guy on there, and he's been on there for a few years now. His name's Zillan OP. And he's, the poor guy, disabled gamer, and people have been watching him, seeing him get around in his wheelchair, and thinking, how can we help this guy? So at one point he did an appeal to get himself a new wheelchair, and thankfully everyone in the community helped out and managed to get him this new wheelchair. He got $5,000, which is such a lovely story, until you realise that about a month ago he stepped out of his chair on camera because he didn't realise it was recorded. What a fucking idiot!
So yeah, this guy just gets up out of his chair and just walks off on camera, and it's like his girlfriend's on desperately trying to get hold of him on the chat, oh my god, you've left, you're on camera, getting up out of your chair, but she can't obviously say it, so she's got to sort of do it as a coded message. And yeah, it was just
exactly
nuts.
Or is it a coded message, or is it just her losing it a bit? I'm not quite sure, because she says something about oh my god, we sometimes take the dog to the fish shop. Fish shop, I'm guessing in America means a pet shop where they sell fish, not as in a chippy.
Like an aquarium.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Or taking to meet the fish in the chippy. Oh yeah, this is Barry the dead cod. This is Jim the sausage. Susan Savoy and all that. But yeah, apparently they take him there because he likes meeting people. But yeah, you're right. It somehow seems a coded message because you can see the reflection of him walking in the fish tank in the background.
Right.
Because his original excuse was, I saw my dog knock over a bowl of water on some electric leads.
Yeah.
So threw myself out of my wheelchair to try and dive on it and stop it from happening.
Yeah.
And then people are no, dude, we can see you in the reflection of the fish tank. You're walking around.
You're walking around.
We can actually see you. And then,
so what's the upshot of this then, man?
Well, the upshot is he's been banned from Twitch TV, and they've refunded subscriptions to people who paid them to subscribe to his channel.
Right.
But what people can't get back is money that they've donated freely to his wheelchair cause, his cause to go and move house and live nearer his girlfriend, which, if she was on Skype, I'm not even sure if... it's all very weird and interesting. And we do have to say, we don't know that he may be disabled in some ways, but he did claim he was paralysed from the waist down, which this video clearly shows
that he's not.
Isn't the case. Yeah. So we're not saying the guy may not have disability. In fact, he's clearly got some disabilities in some ways. Yeah, it's a really interesting story. Look it up yourselves and get lost in all of what went on surrounding it. The people that were massive fans of his, that at the time were like really shocked. Just look at the forums, have a dig into it, and you'll enjoy this one. It's fun.
Yeah. But when someone's like doing a scam like that online, is it enough to just get banned from the website? I mean, it's a crime, isn't it?
It is. There's talk of people maybe getting a class action lawsuit together in the States. People that have given him money, like say for the wheelchair. That's one that probably in court could work because you were giving money to a definite thing that wasn't needed. Although he could always say, well, I did get a wheelchair with it. Like, you can see I've got a new wheelchair. But it was to help him carry on the scam, not to help him get around. But whether it depends on the law of...
They'd have to prove that in court, wouldn't they?
It'd just be an argument of lawyers, wouldn't it? But it would be a fun one no matter what, Ali. So,
totally, mate.
Interested to see what happens.
Fun.
Maybe fun, but alright. Fun for someone weird who likes looking at that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So anyway, are we done for the news?
Yes, mate.
Good stuff. In that case, shall we take a break and see you in a bit?
Yes, mate. Let's listen to some music.
Ta-da.
Bye.
Christ. Okay, well, what we'll do, I'll run in first.
Gather up all the eggs and kind of just, blast them all down with AoE. I will use Intimidating Shout to kind of scatter them so we don't have to fight a whole bunch of them at once. When my shout's done, I'll need Anthony to come in and drop his shout too. I think it's a pretty good plan. We should be able to pull it off this time. What do you think, Abdul? Can you give me a number crunch real quick?
I'm coming up with 32.33, repeating of course, percentage of survival.
Oh, it's a lot better than we usually do.
Alright, chums up.
Ready, guys?
Let's do this. Leroy!
God damn it, Leroy!
Leroy, you were just stupid as hell.
Right, so I think it's time for the What You've Been Playing section, and I'm not going to be like Chazzy last week and just steamroll in there and start saying it all. So, Dan, what you been playing?
Well, I know you've picked up BioShock Infinite, right, Ali?
Yeah, about halfway through it at the moment.
And then Chazzy's obviously finished it, so I've tried to go back to it, but it really does make me feel ill. So,
oh no!
I'm gonna have to do it in like fits and starts, kind of like I said in the last show. I don't think I emphasised enough that the game was kind of a bit of a trigger.
Right.
And I really enjoy it. I love it to bits. But yeah, I'm gonna have to take that in fits and starts. So hopefully by the time me and Ali should finish that at the same time, and then we can talk about the game properly. Properly and spoil it and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, so that might take a little bit longer because it's all a bit weird. But so I said before I'd been hunkering back into my 90s music, but I've kind of done the same with gaming. Although not quite as far back. I've been going back to the PS2 era. Now, I know I did this when I first got my PC, right? Just to sort of check out what the graphics look like and all that stuff. But there's a couple of games that when I did try them out just to see what the graphics were like, I kind of got a bit attached to. Now, the main one is God Hand.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Yeah, I was guessing Ali would have played this, man. It's Streets of Rage updated for like the next generation, but
Really?
well, deeper and cleverer, and like it's like Bayonetta and Streets of Rage, like meeting in an actual street fight outside the Pine Pot in Streets of Rage. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
wow, you really piqued my interest by saying that.
cool. You can get it on PSN, man. I think you'd probably like that on your PS3. It's got a kind of western-y feel as well.
As in
that doesn't
like a western, as in like horses and
like cowboy-y,
right, okay.
yeah, or
not
like,
as in western, as in the West.
Mexican, yeah, not as in as in it's a very Japanese game, not a Western game by any stretch. But yeah, it's got this kind of cowboysy, like that Cowboys versus Aliens. It's like that, but Cowboys versus Demons. Okay. But then without any real cowboys. It just happens to sort of seem to take place in these cowboy shanty towns. Maybe they can explain that a bit later on. But...
Don't forget the odd gorilla popping up as well.
Yeah, you're right. And there's all sorts of weird... I mean, any game with gorillas has got to be good. You know what I mean? Especially a beat 'em up with gorillas. Where can you go wrong? And then the mini little Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but the midget versions.
Yeah.
Like, you know all the tropes from like 90s beat 'em ups where there's just these weird characters and you're like, who designed that and why did they design that? Where you get these like little midget characters jumping about and stuff and it doesn't make sense.
It sounds like a Suda 51 game. Like, it's all a bit crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot like a Suda game actually, in terms of like design and even how it plays is like a cross between a Platinum and a Suda game. It's a really interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it was, a bit like Bayonetta being crossed with stuff earlier on, and it was made by Clover, who went on to become Platinum, so...
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, and it's, sadly, it was their last game as Clover. I don't think it sold very well anywhere, really. It was a bit of a flop, and there's partly what did it. There's a review on IGN that gave it a 3 out of 10.
Wow.
Now, like, that's a really bad score. IGN hardly ever review anything that low. And to pick Clover's swan song on the PlayStation 2 as the game that you're going to give 3 out of 10 to, like, people are still going onto the comments now and saying, this is still wrong, please can you rectify this review immediately? That kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm quite fascinated by it, really. It's exactly what I was looking for, just a sort of simple in terms of jump in and play it, depth in terms of the mechanics you can get and that you can learn from it. The feeling, I'm imagining it's a bit closer maybe to even Revengeance than Bayonetta. Would that be right, Ali? Or am I completely up the wrong path there?
No, in a way you're totally right. Although it's also quite close to Anarchy Reigns, like the way that the combo system works, and you just, you walk in like light attack and heavy attack, and then you dodge out of the way. It's a lot like Anarchy Reigns, more than any of their other Platinum games. Yeah, well, yeah, more than any of the other Platinum games, certainly.
Yeah, cool. So it's made me think maybe I should try Rising Revengeance. See, I was a bit annoyed because it's a bit like I love Metal Gear Solid and I love Platinum Games, Stroke, Clover, and all the work they've done, but I don't like chicken tikka on a pizza.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And it felt to me a bit like chicken tikka pizza. But yeah, having got into God Hand, I think I might give Metal Gear Rising a go. Then we can do a spoiler show on that as well, can't we?
Exactly.
Cool. Just before you move on from God Hand, I mean, one question: did you beat the demon in the bar on your first go? That's what you've got to ask everyone.
I didn't. I died the first time, as I probably should have done. Although I did play this back on the PS2, and I died at the boss then as well, and I still forgot that it pops up and gets you. But it's one of those things that I've got right at the end of the PS2 era, when I already had a 360. So it's one of the, when you really want to carry on playing something on the PS2, but you've got all this shiny new stuff to try. So, but yes, I failed both those times. It'll be interesting to see how Chazzy does when he does it. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing, man. How about yourself, Chaz?
Yeah, well, basically, I'm currently playing through a couple of games. I've got Luigi's Mansion and Tomb Raider, the new one, but I am not really at a stage where I can talk about them properly. So what I wanted to do was, you may have seen on Twitter that I sort of came out, not in that way, but came out that I've come off Twitter for a while. I'd retired, decided, like, that's it, and I didn't give any reason for it. And the reason is that I was using my time on Twitter and online to lose some weight. So from January the 1st this year, I went on a mad, crazy weight loss program. Yeah, so I put up on Twitter the pictures, and I've actually lost 5 stone since January, which is pretty mad. And as you guys know, like, it's been sort of interfering with podcast recordings and like me telling you that I've got to get on the bike and on the exercise bike, and I can't make a recording until late, and messing you guys around. So thank you so much for like moving stuff around, because it's been so helpful. It's unreal. But
it's fine. It's just incredible how overweight using Twitter can make.
No, exactly. No, I mean, what it was is I just had no time in my schedule to devote to losing weight or putting in exercise. So I thought, right, what I'll do is I'll completely abstain from going online in my home life, and use that time to then get some more exercise. But what I found happening is that I was on the bike and I was getting really bored, and then I thought, right, okay, why don't I try and use gaming to help me lose weight? So I started trying to play games while I was on the exercise bike. So I did the like the usual things. Right, I know what I do is I'll start playing FIFA, and that will really help me. Just keep my mind off my legs whirring around and getting knackered. But then what I found was that was like patting my head and rubbing my tummy at the same time. Like I was either playing really well in the game and my legs would just stop working completely, or my legs were going and then my little men would just stop running on the pitch, and like it was
go for a shot and you're like kicking the pedals
exactly,
round,
yeah.
like, go!
At one stage, I actually did try and header the ball while I was on the bike and nearly toppled myself over onto the floor. So I thought, right, that's a bit dangerous. We've got to find some way of doing this.
Although you could have started a Twitch TV channel.
Oh yeah, exactly. But so what I ended up doing was getting into like more turn-based stuff, which is where the XCOM, like I played a lot of XCOM. How I could talk about it on the show last week, because that's turn-based and I can leave it and think about a turn and all that kind of stuff. But then I started getting really into Civ Rev.
Oh, nice.
And that is absolutely perfect for sitting down on an exercise bike. I ended up like sort of getting some zip tying a controller to the front of my exercise bike, so I didn't have to physically hold it, and then I could just click around, do a few bits, and then sort of leave it paused, carry on with my bike, cycling, or click it and then let the computer take all its turns, and then keep coming back on and off as and when I felt like it. And I didn't feel like under pressure to be constantly like sort of Twitch gaming. It was just brilliant, and I so enjoyed playing it. The only problem is I'm finding with Civ Revolution is that I always go for a military victory, and I can't get my head out of that and get into just going for like the science victories and the political victories and that kind of thing. So I need some advice from you guys.
Although the fact that it is open, if that is your playstyle and that's just the way you play it, then it's nice that there are the choices available. But if you don't want to use them, I suppose when you're on the bike, you don't want to feel forced into learning this new way of playing the game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm going to really sort of try in the next few weeks to get one of those other types of victories under my belt. So if you've got any tips or any like strategies, then let me know, guys.
Now, there was a lot of talk when it first released. People saying, older Civ fans saying it's a bit dumbed down, but then it seems like they took it under their wing and now really like it. Had you played the previous games, or is this your first experience in the Civ?
Yeah, I played sort of Civ on the Amiga way back when, and really got into it, and used to like with my mates as kids, like sort of staying up till 2, like having people over and staying up till 2 in the morning playing it, and got really into it. But then had completely forgotten how to play it by the time I hadn't touched it or anything, and since then, and then came back to it with Civ Rev. So I'd missed that whole sort of almost golden age of Civ in the middle. So coming back to it for me, it was like a really nice tutorial and getting back into the way of playing Civ again.
Like meeting up with an old friend kind of thing?
Yeah, totally, yeah.
Sounds ideal, actually, because people do say that it was, streamlined from the other Civs, and it is. But it's still really good, and for you coming back to it for so long, that must be a really good experience.
No, it was amazing. It was amazing, and I was surprised at how in depth it is for a console game as well. But it does still feel like quite PC. It has that PC feel to it, which is really unusual when you're playing it on a console, and it's that's been kind of slightly jarring, just that sort of feel of it, just that sort of more strategical feel, and it just doesn't feel like a console game, but it's on my 360. So that's what I've been doing, is like sort of whizzing away on the bike and playing Civ.
So now you've got a controller strapped to the front of it. It looks like something from a German sex dungeon. Yeah. Are you going to carry this on until you've lost, you're only going to be 1 stone by the end of the year?
No, that's it. No, that's it, mate. I've hit my weight. I'm down. I'm there. I'm done now. So was using sort of Wii Fit. Started off using Wii Fit to sort of get me off the sofa and just really just get me motivated to start moving my limbs again and exercising. And then what I found was with Wii Fit that you're only burning off about 250 calories a day. What I needed to do was get rid of a lot more calories than that a day for my weight loss plan. So then I tried EA Sports Active, and again, that sort of, you can get a few more calories out of that, and that was a lot better for sort of burning. But then obviously I graduated up to an exercise bike. But what I found is that using Wii Fit to track my weight and stuff was really, really useful. And what I also found was like the kind of aerobic side of kind of like toning up muscle and stuff was really good on those different packages.
It's probably good for like a warm up or warm down if it's not quite good enough for like the full exercise.
Exactly. So I wouldn't recommend them for like, if you want to lose a few pounds, they're really, really great. But if you want to really go for it drastically, I wouldn't recommend them. But I would use them as a really useful tool to kind of track stuff and, like I say, just do things aerobically so that you can, tone up a little bit more.
It's like a good way to sort of have motivation while actually monitoring it, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. So that's about basically what I've been doing like the last 4 months. But so Ali, what have you been up to, man?
Well, I've spent most of this last week playing Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, but I think I'm probably going to keep that for another time because it's pretty deep, pretty expansive. I'm not sure if I can really say enough about it at the moment, and I do have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it as well. So I think I'm just going to briefly mention some other games that I've kind of tried to play. But it's been difficult because they're games that I like to play online, and the servers, while still alive, are just nobody's in them, and I think it's a real shame, so I just like to almost highlight it. I mean, specifically here I'm talking Street Fighter 4 on the PS3, as in Super Street Fighter, although that would include arcade as well.
Right.
Surprisingly, you cannot get a game online in general at all nowadays.
Really? No way. I thought that would still be quite a big concern.
Exactly. But I think what's happened is that all the proper hardcore players have moved over to the PC version, where there's a really thriving community, and don't know what 360's like, but PS3 you just couldn't. I couldn't get a game, and I tried at different points on different days, still just couldn't get a game. So I want some friends for Street Fighter, really. I mean, just for
I bet there's some listener out there that would love a game of Street Fighter 4 on the PS3. So if you totally are, get in touch and let us know, and you can fight Ali to your heart's content.
Go easy though, please. But also Little Big Planet 2 now and Little Big Planet Karting, both the communities on them seem to have really died down, where now you search for a game on just any random level, and it has a hard time finding someone. It will find someone, but it has a hard time, and I think that's a real shame as well, especially in the case of Little Big Planet Karting, which is quite new, and the servers on that are really, really dead.
That's really sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
So do you find yourself sort of walking away and doing something else, and then hoping that someone eventually pops up and comes online for you to play with then, eventually?
Well, if it doesn't find someone after 30 seconds, then it just times out, and then you've got to search again. And the online system worked perfect when it launched. It's not a case of the matchmaking not working or anything. Really, you look at leaderboards, you look at tracks being uploaded, the game is just dead. And it's a tragedy, because in my mind, it's at the very least as good as Mario Kart Wii. I'm not saying it's better, but it's not any worse. It's a real tragedy.
And it's so much newer. I'd imagine there's still people playing Mario Kart Wii, even to this day. So
yeah, there is. I was actually playing it online just a few weeks ago, so I can confirm that people are playing Mario Kart Wii. Little Big Planet Karting's dead. It's a tragedy.
Are people still creating tracks for the Little Big Planet Karting though? It's not like it's died in that sense, no?
Well, they're being curated much less, by the team who developed the game themselves. Actually, the same company who made Sleeping Dogs, United Front Games. And there's still lots of levels getting uploaded, but people just aren't rating them as such.
Yeah, well, I suppose if the community's not there, then it's kind of not an ever-decreasing circle. You know what I mean? A self-fulfilling prophecy that once the community starts dying, people don't want to make levels for a dwindling community. Then people start rating them less, and so on and so on.
Yeah, it's a shame.
I'm really, really surprised at that though, man, because it's such a new game, and it was I know it didn't have big hype at launch, but it at least had sort of.
Well, you expected
sort of
it would have
community
the fan base, yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Little Big Planet fans say they don't like it because it's not made by Media Molecule. And then the fans of Mod Nation Racers, which it's really a spiritual successor to, say they don't like it because it's not Mod Nation Racers. Even though it's really incredibly similar in terms of the way the driving feels and works, etc. So it's a real shame, it really is. So after failing to play some games online, I just ended up going back to Theme Hospital, which I won't talk much about. People either know it or they don't, and if you've not played it before, there are probably better games in the same genre out there nowadays, albeit not with hospitals.
And maybe not quite as funny with that sort of British, like, carry-on sense of humour.
Well, yeah, you say that. I mean, this is a game from a different time when you see that there are VIPs called Billy Savile visiting your hospital, certainly.
Ow! Ooh, so, I'm guessing Molyneux didn't know anything about Jimmy's sort of secret life back then, because that would be a bit scary.
I don't know, we might have to get Paxman to ask him one day.
Oh, wouldn't it be great if that's what's in the middle of the Curiosity Cube? You crack it open and it's just like Jimmy Savile's gurning face, like, leering out of his screen at you.
So yeah, I mean, Theme Hospital, it's just as accessible as it always was, just as fun as it always was, but, sorry, you do have to question the carry-on mindset nowadays. Everything seems to have changed a lot in terms of political correctness these last, say 10, 15 years.
Especially in terms of the National Health Service and people's medical conditions and stuff. In fact, if they remade this game today, it would probably all be privatised and sold off as DLC or something. So, you been playing anything else, Ali?
No, that's it for me. Just a quick one this week. So, do you fancy a break?
Yeah, let's do that. Cuppers.
Yay!
That was good.
Fuck me.
And we're back. And we thought we'd do a little listener questions special because we've got a little bit of a bank that have built up of these questions now. So we thought we'd sort of like clear the decks and start afresh so that you can all start sending in new questions for us to answer and new topics for us to talk about. So yeah, we're going to clear them all out now. And hopefully you can listen to the answer to your question. Well, of course, that's what the whole point is. What am I talking about? Anyway, Our first question is from Dave Forrest, #1 podcast fan by all accounts. He asked this on Facebook. He said, what's the #1 feature you are looking for in the next gen consoles?
Well, I think I'd have to say, I don't know if it's a feature. It's not a feature as in a physical thing that's in the box, as it, it's got.
Well, the share button is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think the thing I'm looking most forward to, or looking for to grow in the next consoles, isn't a physical thing. I think it's the whole next evolution of Live and the next evolution of PSN, and what are they going to do with like achievement points, and how can they grow on that?
I suppose you're also talking about the whole video sharing aspect and stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly. Not just like the actual physical button on the thing, and it's got a few more USB ports and stuff like that. But like the service itself. I'm really looking to see what they do with that kind of stuff and where it goes.
Also, will it lead to more, like at the moment, social games are generally built for like mobile devices or Facebook and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Will we get AAA social games?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Will that stuff start invading into new consoles and stuff?
See, invading, that's where you've hit on where the stuff that you're excited about leaves me cold.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
You see it as an invasion, like a virus coming in to sort of destroy.
Yeah, I can just see it being like more and more microtransactions, and it being kind of a Trojan horse for microtransactions and DRM and that always on and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like not that that's a problem, but you're obviously if anyone's listened before, you're probably a lot more into the social and online aspect of gaming than I am. But that's my only worry is that if these are always online consoles, will the single player experiences dying out? I know that's not, again, we're going round about the houses, and I'm not really saying the feature that I'm looking forward to. It's more what I'm not looking forward to. But I'm looking forward to there being genuine single-player experiences, the same as there have been for the past, like, however many years.
Yeah. Thing is, though, I mean, the way that culture is going, a lot of people won't miss single-player if we are pushed online. So I think you're getting in the minority a little bit, and I feel the same. It's a shame. But
there's this argument, like it's the Dark Souls argument, that there is a way to do it where you can have both.
Yeah.
So again, how are those social features going to be pushed in the next generation? Are there going to be more Dark Souls-like experiences and Zombie U-like experiences? What are the new ways that they're going to sort of take that and twist it and make it interesting?
Have you seen the way that Respawn Entertainment? I know it's maybe not going to be the most exciting thing because it sounds like we're talking about a COD game again. But Respawn, the ex-Infinity Ward staff's team, their game has got what's the word? It's sort of unbalanced, but on purpose. You've got foot soldiers, and then these giant mechs called Titans.
Yeah,
and I think it's quite interesting that for years it's been about both sides on a team in an FPS have to be equal. Yeah, and then suddenly changing the playing field. I'm interested to see how that's going to work out. I think maybe we're going to see more like that.
It's going to sort of develop new strategies and kind of make you think in a totally different way from the way that you've always been programmed to play a first-person shooter.
Yeah, like like Nintendo with the asymmetrical experiences between the tablet and the screen, but doing that online where you can do it in all sorts of other ways. But I think they've taken a lead from the asymmetrical side. Definitely.
It's a big risk, I think. I mean, you can see already in games like, say, Alien vs Predator, no one wants to go a certain thing, so everyone just quits if they have to go the species that they don't like. Maybe wants to go foot soldier. It's a big risk.
But it is a big risk, but then also it's a really interesting one if it really works and really sort of captures the imagination.
Especially as these are the guys that made Modern Warfare 1, do you know what I mean? They know how to sort of tailor it and balance and polish an experience.
But also what it does is it changes that sort of water cooler moment with your mate, where you sit down as someone who drives these Titan machines or whatever they are, and he's got a completely different experience playing this game than you've had. And you've got no way to relate to each other, and you can go, oh, you do this, well, I do this. And, wow, that must be really weird and you get this like really interesting conversation.
I suppose it's a bit like you've always had different class systems in like MMOs.
Yeah, totally.
It's a bit like that, just taken to a different extreme and a different genre. Have you got a feature that you're looking forward to, Ali?
Actually, yeah. I mean, I want every PS4 to come with a hood ornament. Like you go out, you buy a BMW, Mercedes, whatever. They've got this wee thing on the bonnet. It's like, that's a sign of class.
Like the Spirit of Ecstasy on a Rolls Royce.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I've taken the question too literally, but I want a hood ornament for my next gen console.
Nice.
If not, you could kickstart like making them, and you could like sell them for people like yourself.
Yeah.
Although, would they be PS3 4 exclusive, or would you do ones for Xbox Fusion or whatever it ends up being called?
Well, it's to have them, but it's another market for the companies to dip into, because you can customize them, you can get different ones. It's like buying outfits for your avatars, you know?
Yeah, or like faceplates, but the next level of faceplates.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, hood ornaments, it's the future, trust me.
We got another question from Don Ragnar, aka Justin Knowles, on Twitter. He said, what's our prediction on how well and how long the old consoles will be supported into the next generation?
Okay, well, I think the next generation consoles are actually probably going to be less supported than previous generations. Certainly in our world, over here in the West anyway. Of course, they'll still have a big market in developing countries, like the PS2 still supposedly sells a lot in some parts of the world, so...
So the thing is also technically it's going to be not supported because obviously everything's moving over to x86 architecture. So all the chipsets are completely different. So it's not as easy as before where you could run in emulation the old games and sort of patch the backwards compatibility in that way.
In fact, that was kind of killed this past generation, really,
exactly.
wasn't it? Like they had to do it in software rather than through just putting in the chip.
It's going to be a situation where there is actually this generation a hard stop just from a technical level. So I think it's going to be.
I think you'll get a good 2 years of where you get the games released on both generations. Like, do you remember where you got the Wii and PS2 version, and you got the Xbox 360 and PS3 version, and they were ostensibly the same game, but one was a lot more limited and usually more linear in its approach to match the hardware it's playing.
Yeah, there'll definitely be a tail to this current generation moving into what we would call next generation with the whatever the new Xbox is called and PlayStation 4. So I think there's definitely going to be a tail there, but I don't think it'll be as long a tail as say the PlayStation 1 had. Or the PlayStation 2 as well, that sort of lingered around for
like FIFA still came out on PS2, was it last year, I think?
Yeah, so, exactly. So, there's
obviously still a market for those games.
I don't think it's going to be like that. But I think there'll be
I think it might surprise us. I think it's going to take a couple of years. What with the economy being what it is, I think it's going to take a good couple of years for people to actually grasp onto this next gen. Yeah. Other than the early adopters, I think it's going to maybe be a good 2.5 years before it does come to that hard stop. But when it does, you're right, it will happen and it will be definite.
Yeah.
But I think there's maybe a couple of years left.
There's bound to still be some really good PS3 and 360 games coming out even after the PS4. Like you spoke about God Hand earlier, that came out on PS2 after the PS3 was already released. Same Persona 4, Yakuza 2, God of War 2. Some great games came out after the PS3. So
also the companies that are making those games like God Hand, I suppose they see, well, everyone else has gone on to the next gen. We can now make something a bit more experimental for the people that are still hanging in there. Maybe it will cost less budget-wise, and we might not make all of the sales of like a brand spanking new game. But yeah, I think you do get interesting stuff towards that tail end. So yeah, be interesting to see what happens anyway. And thanks for the question, Don. We've had a question from Pop Rewind on Twitter. Now, they used to be called Soap Site. They used to have a site called Soap in the Bathroom. And we get on well with them on Twitter because we've both got all of us have got kind of a fascination with like nostalgia and retro stuff. And we're hoping to get them on the show sometime as well. Yeah, it'd be great to have them on to talk about their perspective from, I think one's Canadian and one's American.
Yeah, get on the net and check them out.
Yeah, definitely. So go and find them and their Pop Rewind on Twitter. They've asked us, does anyone like the Atari Jaguar or its calculator-esque controller?
I don't think anyone really liked the Atari Jaguar, did they? Really?
Jeff Minter, he loved it.
Yeah, but he also likes llamas and like crazy shit.
See, I feel quite sad that I don't really know much of the Atari Jaguar at all, other than people still occasionally bang on about Alien vs Predator and stuff like Spy vs Spy. Apparently that was the best version. I don't know.
Oh, I didn't even know Spy vs Spy was on it.
It turns out Dan was right, actually. Spy vs Spy isn't on the Atari Jaguar, so well done, Dan. Really happy for you. Maybe I'll catch you out next time, eh?
See, I'm probably one of the few people in the UK that actually owned one of these. But there was a point where, I think at the time it was Electronics Boutique rather than Game. Or were they called something else before Electronics Boutique? I don't know. But whatever it was, when it completely failed to sell, they were selling off systems and you got a copy of Doom, a copy of Kasumi Ninja, I believe, which is a dreadful Mortal Kombat esque beat 'em up with a Scotsman who lifts up his kilt and fires fireballs out of his privates. Absolutely dreadful. And a couple of other bundled games for about like 20-30 quid. So it's one of those, when you see something like that, and as a geek, you can't not buy it. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you'd have seen it for like 20 quid, you'd have picked one up if it had like 3 games with it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But yeah, then I understood exactly why it was 20 quid. That controller, as they say, if no one's seen it, it looks like an old telephone, like an early 90s telephone or something. It's
sort of like the old Xbox One controller with a massive like calculator attached to the bottom of it where the trackpad would go. Yeah.
The interesting thing is that's a stem from. Do you remember on the Atari 2600 that had a numerical pad?
Right.
But that was thought up and released in like 1982. That pad, and it's like, why did they suddenly think like 10 years later? Tell you what, I know what worked on the 2600. That numerical pad. That's what everyone loved.
That's what everyone wants.
Yeah. But it would have been great if for the Jaguar they'd gone with the iconic Atari joystick, just one stick and a red button. But then I suppose they couldn't have had Doom playing very well on
Exactly.
it. So yeah, I don't dislike it, but it's probably the worst console I've ever owned.
Fair enough.
It's quite interesting. I like it for its sort of curio value. So yeah, I hope that answers that one. Although we can't answer for anyone else. You've said, does anyone like the Atari Jaguar? Yeah. I'm not going to answer on behalf of every member of the human species, but I think history tells the tale. Now, we've had a question from Joey Calvo on Facebook. He said, "Hi lads, quick question. I'd be interested to hear your opinion. Do you think that games are getting, quotes, too repetitive? By that, I mean, do you find that games that get to their part 3 and beyond are really outstaying their gaming welcomes? Or do you feel that games need more than one big release to prove their worth?"
There's a lot there.
There is a lot there.
I feel the question's getting too repetitive. It's quite long.
We need a translator or something.
Exactly. But no, I think if you look at the history of games right back from, day dot, they've never got to their part 3s, really, without outstaying their welcome at all. I think it's just part of the natural cycle.
But there are a lot of people who would be looking forward to the next Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, but even with that, like, you've got to Assassin's Creed 3 and people are now sort of, it's a bit, I don't know if I want to stick with this. And like sort of with Mass Effect as well, like everyone's got to part 3 and now there's talk of there being a new sort of spin-off from that. And people are kind of, I don't know if I'm going to pick that up. I don't know if I'm really energized for that anymore. And, I think it's just the natural way of things that this will always happen. That, you
just like a trilogy per generation.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the only games that really sort of break out of that are sports games like Madden and FIFA and NHL as well to an extent. Like, they can iterate year on year because there are always engine changes or roster changes or whatever. But I think like stuff like, say, like you were saying about Resident Evil, that sort of got to 4 and then sort of people started tailing off on it, and 5 and 6. And I was trying to rack my brains to try and find games that have really...
But then does that mean it has outstayed its welcome? Do you know what I mean? Like, is that kind of what he's getting at? That,
yeah.
Like, I know you're saying that it naturally happens and always has.
Yeah, it always has and always will.
Yeah, maybe you're right, man. It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Often I don't end up getting the later games in series just because it's not the kind of thing I do. I've like if you played the main trilogy, it's usually wrapped up by that point.
Yeah.
But I like the point where he says, do you feel that games need more than one big release? I think there has been cases where games would have been best left as one game.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? A bit like the film The Matrix was, where the sequels just water down what came before.
Well,
but
also,
then,
like going to something more recent, BioShock, I think people would have been quite happy if that had been a standalone game on its own and there was no... I mean, I'm not saying everyone, but I think people...
Yeah,
there's certain people I've listened to that have said Infinite, almost didn't need to be made, or, didn't...
Or at least BioShock 2 didn't need to be made.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the one that kind of gets the stick. But then if Assassin's Creed had only had one go, then people would have missed out on all of the leaps and bounds that were made in gameplay from the first one to Assassin's Creed 2 and onwards. So
yeah, exactly.
I think it literally depends on the actual franchise in question.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a brand
who it's appealing to.
There's also a brand issue as well, like of you've got sort of Metal Gear, and like if you look at Metal Gear 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's kind of wrapped itself up. But then there's been loads of spin-offs from that, brand, as it were, like with the Acid games and the kind of portable stuff. You know, now that's not necessarily sequels, and that's also not repetitive either, because they're completely different offshoots. And like stuff like the Mario games as well. You know, that's gone from being a 2D side-scrolling platformer.
Yeah, but things like this, they're like a genre within themselves, really. Like, you know, you could say Metal Gear's a genre, Mario's a genre. It's not a platformer. Like, it's a genre unto itself, really.
Certain games, certain games break out from being just a series of, you know, linear games.
Yeah, so hopefully I think we've actually answered a question for once.
Oh, wow.
A round of applause for us there.
Thank you. Way! Well done.
Although I will kind of agree with him that I think maybe games are getting too repetitive, but not in the way that he means. I don't think it's because of sequelitis. I think maybe they're getting too samey within themselves, but we'll save that for another day. Now, we've had a question from my mum on Facebook. Also, happy birthday, Mum, because this episode's going to come out on your actual birthday. So happy 65th
happy
from
birthday,
the AI
Mum.
Happy birthday, yeah. Hope you enjoy this present of the episode.
We weren't actually going to do one unless this one's your special birthday episode. We should sing the song, but we're not going to.
No.
Anyway, my mum asks, should there be granny games classes to stop i.e. their brains clapping out? It could be ripping. I'm guessing is that a teenage term that I'm not aware of? Or maybe it was in 92.
Yeah, exactly. Quite possibly. But isn't this what Nintendo was doing with the Wii and like getting it into like old people's homes?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Basically. Yeah. Like just.
Also, I think possibly games are more accessible than they've ever been before. What with iPad and touch devices and DS and things like that. I think they are more accessible.
Even things like Facebook nowadays. Like
Yeah, of course, and online flash games and that kind of thing.
So, what would be the game that you would give to your granny then to like sort of say, play this game, Granny? You'll be great at it because of X.
God Hand.
Like something. Yeah. See, there was me thinking you were going to say something like Ticket to Ride or a good board game or something like on the iPad, but no.
No, I mean she's going to meet the hand of God eventually, so I may as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah, go practicing while you're there.
Fair enough.
I've always wanted my mum to play Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah. Just
because of the sort of Italian history thing. Like, I think she's quite interested of that point in art and architecture, and she's been to the places that it relates to. Gotcha. And LA Noire is another one that I think that my mum would find interesting in terms of story and what it's trying to do. But the pad, we've grown up with control pads. Exactly. And I think I see what she's getting at, that they are quite a big hurdle if you're not used to it.
Yeah, it's a real big barrier, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I literally can't see it almost. I'm blindsided by it.
Yeah.
But then whenever you see someone who doesn't use a controller with one in their hands, they get all flustered. And I can see looking at it then when it's in their hands. Oh yeah, it's just all these buttons and like sticks and stuff. So yeah, maybe there should be granny games classes. Maybe you should be able to go to the local, I don't know,
library,
computer centre and library. Yeah. And then they could start their own like clans, like Call of Duty clans.
OAP clan.
Nice. Grand Clan. And then, so we've got one more question. This comes from Paul Rooney, aka Silent Hitashura. And he says, this one's dating back to when I first spoke about playing my PS2 discs on my new PC. So he says, I'd like to know your views on video game hackery. Import friendly or commercial nuisance? Pro-consumer or not?
Tricky subject.
Isn't it? And yeah, we've been sort of talking about, do we do this as an actual topic for a whole show? Do we just cover it as a question? Do we cover emulation as a theme? All sorts of things. But I think what we're going to have to come down to is our own personal experience, because there's so many points on the moral compass that we can't really speak on behalf of anyone but ourselves, I think, with this one.
So what are your views on it then, man?
I mean, well, I've used emulators now since 1996. The first one I used it for was to play the Shinobi arcade game, just because I missed it, and there were no arcades that had it at the time, and it was a way for me to access something that I couldn't play anywhere else. And I think that's kind of how I feel about it, that if I own the disc and I own the original console, I think I have the right that if the game is, say, bugged, I have the right to then patch my game, even though technically that's against the terms and conditions, or to translate
or like stuff like
things
where
like that.
I think, say SSX, and I want to play it on that PlayStation 2 emulator. I own a PlayStation 2. I own SSX, but I want to try and play it in the best looking form possible. I don't see that that's a problem, You know, I own a ROM, I own an actual firmware of a console. I actually own the disc. You know, I don't see what the kind of grey area in that is.
But would that become a problem if they released a HD version and you were still just using your emulator, or would you have to feel obliged to buy this upgrade to have the right to play your upgraded version?
But then there's I could make the argument that maybe there's been work put into that texture-wise to make that HD version, therefore it would demand my extra money. I would see that as a completely different version of the game.
Although, having seen a lot of these HD remakes after playing PS2 games on the PC, I think a lot of them don't actually involve all the texture work that we think they do. But yeah, because because you hadn't done this last time we talked about it. They do look stunning, right?
Yes, they do look beautiful. Yeah, it looks absolutely amazing. I was blown away when I first kind of put in my first PS2 disc, and then kind of saw how much the graphics change.
Yeah, and I think that carries my argument and your argument. You know what I mean? Just the fact that it looks so beautiful, I don't want anyone to miss out on that. So
No,
yeah,
exactly.
I'm pro hackery in those cases. You know.
But yeah, also there's an argument to be made as well for that kind of international argument of people, say in Australia, who haven't been able to have games come out in their region. You know, so people are kind of importing games or downloading games to then play via emulation because they've got no other physical access or no other, other than physically going out to another country, buying a console, bringing it back, changing all the kind of wattages on the power supplies and stuff just to get it to run.
To play devil's advocate, it could be argued legally they have the means to do that if they have enough money. So there's still technically, things like that.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's a really weird grey area. Yes, you're right.
And again, there's another grey area that
Absolutely.
they could also mod their own console, but in some countries that is legal, and in some it isn't. In some it's actually upheld as a human right that you've bought the console, you can do what you like with it, and then in others not. So there are so many different sort of tangled grey areas within it. Also, there's so many things that we wouldn't know about if it wasn't for hacking. Like recently they found F-Zero GX on the GameCube contains F-Zero AX, the arcade version, within the code.
Oh.
Now, we've only literally found out about that quite recently in the grand scheme of things, seeing as the game's been out over 10 years now, or about 10 years now. And we would never have known that if it wasn't for people hacking the ROMs. So, it's just, I think for the interests of history and archiving, especially moving forward as the physical consoles die, I do think there's an importance to it and a moral obligation almost for people to make emulators and keep this stuff alive. So,
but also on the other side of it, there's also a moral obligation for us as sort of end users not to basically take the mickey.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But as we say, if you own the machine and you own the disc, I think you're within your rights to play that disc any way you can get it to run. Is my thinking.
Yeah, I'll come down on that as well, probably, definitely.
Yep.
Good.
Full agreement here. Yeah, why not?
So yeah, kind of make your own mind up seems to be the answer on that one. Anyway, if you've got any questions for us, you can send them on Twitter. We're at the AI Bots, or you can email them.
Email at theaibots.com.
Or you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/
The AI Bots.
Ta-da! So yeah, I think that's all for now, and hopefully next time we'll start getting a whole new bank of questions and we can wait another couple of months to answer them all. But it's only because we get so carried away waffling about the questions that sometimes we realise we've still got 3 left and we've spoken for 30 minutes on 2 questions. So do get them in. We'd love, just ask us anything. Tell us any topics you'd like to hear us talk about. Any games you think we should play that we haven't mentioned that we may have missed out on. Let us know. Also, if you've lost weight through Wii Fit, let us know, because it's quite an interesting topic. I'd like to know how many people outside of the generic Wii Fit demographic, the sort of mums and the casual market. I'd like to know how many people that are genuine gamers have found the same as yourself. So, do get in touch, and hope you've enjoyed the show, and I think it's time for us all to say goodbye.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
See you later.
Good. See you later.
Bye.